My name is Ethan Walker, and I never thought one cruel sentence from the woman I loved could shatter me the way it did. My wife, Claire, and I had been married for 6 years. We met in college. She was fiery, confident, always the center of every room, while I was the quiet one, the listener, the type who loved deeply but expressed it in small ways. Over time, though, something in her changed. The laughter between us turned into arguments about little things. I kept telling myself it was just stress, work, or routine. But I was wrong. The cracks were deeper. It all happened one Friday night at a dinner party hosted by her best friend, Vanessa. The evening started well enough. Music, food, laughter, and stories about old times. Claire had a few glasses of wine and started joking around with her friends. The jokes were light-hearted until they weren't. One of the guys made a teasing comment about relationships, and Claire laughed, saying, "You know what's funny? Some men try so hard, but still can't satisfy their wives." Everyone laughed. I forced a small smile, thinking it was just a random joke. But then she added, "Like Ethan here. Love him to death, but let's just say he's not exactly impressive in bed." The laughter that followed was like a knife to my chest. I froze, every muscle in my body stiff. The woman I'd trusted with every piece of my heart had just humiliated me in front of a room full of people. My face burned, and I felt small, smaller than I'd ever felt. Claire looked at me, half smiling, expecting me to laugh it off. I didn't. The room went quiet, awkwardly so, until Vanessa suddenly spoke up. "That's not true," she said softly. The entire table turned to her. Claire's expression changed instantly. Her playful smirk vanished. "Excuse me," Claire snapped. Vanessa swallowed hard but didn't back down. I said, "That's not true." The silence that followed was suffocating. Claire's eyes widened, and I could see fury flashing behind them. "What the hell are you talking about, Vanessa?" she demanded. Vanessa looked down, clearly realizing she'd said too much. My mind was spinning, my heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the rest of the room. Then Claire stood up abruptly, knocking her chair over. "You slept with my husband," she screamed, her voice trembling with rage. Everyone stared. I was in complete shock. I hadn't even processed what was happening. Vanessa stood up too, shaking her head. "It was before you two were married," she blurted out. "We went out once in college. You didn't even know him then, Claire." I remembered then, years ago, long before Claire and I ever met, I'd gone on 2 dates with a girl named Vanessa. We'd hooked up once, nothing serious. I had no idea she was that Vanessa, Claire's old college roommate. My heart sank as I realized what was happening. Claire was shaking, her face pale with fury and humiliation. "So you've both been lying to me all this time," she hissed. "This is disgusting." I stood, trying to explain. "Claire, listen, it was years ago, before you and I ever met. I didn't even know you knew each other." She didn't want to hear it. "Don't talk to me," she snapped, grabbing her purse and storming out of the room. The guests sat frozen, unsure of what to say. Vanessa burst into tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to say that. I just couldn't stand hearing her humiliate you like that." I stood there in silence, my whole body trembling. The night had turned from painful to catastrophic in seconds. When I got home later, Claire was packing a bag. She didn't look at me when she said, "You disgust me." I wanted to defend myself, to remind her that she was the one who tore me down in public first, but all I could do was stand there, speechless. "You could have told me," she said bitterly. "You let me be friends with her all this time while she knew something I didn't." "Claire," I said softly, "it was years ago. I didn't even connect the dots. You're my wife. You're the only one I've ever loved." She stopped packing, her eyes filled with tears she wouldn't let fall. I don't know if I can believe that anymore. The days that followed were silent and heavy. She barely spoke to me, avoided me like a stranger in our own home. I replayed that night 100 times, her words, Vanessa's outburst, the humiliation. I hadn't done anything wrong, yet somehow, I was the villain in her story. The irony stung. The night she mocked me for being inadequate was the same night she discovered her own cruelty. Weeks later, she finally broke her silence. "You didn't deserve what I said," she admitted quietly. I was angry, jealous, frustrated. But that doesn't excuse it. I nodded, though the damage was already done. Trust, once shattered, doesn't mend easily. We're still together today, though not the same. There's a distance between us that words can't bridge. But I've learned something crucial from that night. Sometimes the truth doesn't hurt as much as the lies we tell to protect our pride. Claire lost her composure that evening, and I lost my faith in the version of love we'd built. Maybe someday we'll find it again, but for now, I live with the memory of the night my wife mocked me, and her friend's truth silenced the entire room.